Morning, Carter. Dominic, Dave, Pasquat, Vic. How are you guys? Trades with Rage. Steve-O, Alex. Good morning, everybody. I went to sleep early last night, but I still slept like shit. I got this big king-size bed and just couldn't find a good spot to sleep with the dogs. Got the two golden doodles. Think they own the bed. Big mistake that was, letting the dogs sleep on the bed. Terrible idea. Shack, wing, eat. Eat starting to shape up again too. Love Shake Shack. Tech names are super bullish with being able, they're selling their tech into the UAE. Really, really awesome moves for Palantir, NVIDIA, Tesla. Very nice to see. No, I didn't watch it. Alec posted a video last night. My assumption is he posted it late, so I would have to see it a little later today. Core weave. It's too extended here. It's too extended, right? Like you always have to think about whenever you look at a daily chart, the first thing your mind should go to is, if I buy it here, how do I limit risk? Right? The chart was just $35. Now it's $65, right? In like no time at all. So, when you look at a daily, two things, right? How do you limit risk, and where is the right-hand side of the chart? So like you think about a train in motion, that's what CoreWeave looks like. When I look at a chart, I want to see a train pulling into the station and slowing down. So when I look at CoreWeave, I need to see the train pulling into the station. And this is not the concept of a train pulling into a station. This is a stock up 93% in about 3 weeks. 3 weeks and 2 days. Oh, this is just one of the, Carter, this is just one of the many scans I use, man. This one just helps me identify some names that are tight. I have some scans that show me 3-month relative strength. I have some names that help me show, like explosive volume on the day. I have some scans that pull up names that are up 70% off of lows. I got scans to show me stocks that have a 90% composite rating, 90% relative strength. Palantir 1 hour. What about the 1 hour? This one was buyable yesterday as a higher low setup. I gave it in the watch list. So it was over 121 and then 125 was your big level. How many names am I in? I'm in CLS. I'm in CrowdStrike. I'm in HSAI. I'm in Netflix. I'm in TMDX. I'm in Toast. I'm in Tesla. I'm in Uber. I was shaken out of Palantir like a total scrub, and I missed Hood. I actually bought Hood twice, but I took a loss on it twice. Professional selling. But Tesla I own perfectly, and it's my biggest position. What platform do I use to scan on? I use Thinkorswim, I use DeepView, and I use FinViz. A firm put in a tight day yesterday. Yeah, but it needs more momentum. I don't care too much about a firm, to be honest with you. No real momentum here. Needs to get going a little bit more, tighten up, give me a higher low setup, and I would be in there. What is the most important concept for you in trading besides risk management? Is it relative strength? Can you speak a little about the minutia of how you determine that? Great question. Let me think about that for just a quick second. What is the most important concept? The most important concept, I guess there's a few and they go together. The few important concepts that go together are what stocks am I buying in the market, right? And then determining what the strongest groups are. So relative strength is very helpful. Not just looking at one individual chart and saying, wow, that's got nice relative strength. Looking at the whole group and saying the group has relative strength, right? Remember that there's 197 industry groups in the stock market. So you're trying to align yourself with the strongest groups in the market, because it's one thing for just one stock to be standing out all by itself, but it's another thing when the group is acting well, right? When the group is acting well, that's how you know institutions are involved, right? It's not just like one random player in one random stock, right? So first things first, you align yourself in a healthy group, or you align yourself with a healthy group. Then the next best thing, the next most important concept is, what are your entries and your setups, your daily setup tactics that you use to get yourself positioned in the stock? And then what day or what period in time, like when do you buy your stock? So how do you align your buys within a healthy group and a healthy market so that the stock has the best opportunity to push away from your average on the day that you buy it, so that the worst case scenario typically is just you giving back open gains and not consistently taking small red as a swing trader. So I think that's, really important. And then like the final cherry on top for any trader would be, does this stock have good earnings and sales? And then if so, you've now are aligning yourself within a good group, in a good group of stocks. You're understanding when and how to buy something based on a daily time frame, and then maybe using a smaller time frame to get yourself positioned. And then, good earnings and sales is the thing that might give that stock duration. The reason these things are showing relative strength to begin with is because institutions are buying. You guys will hear me repeat the same thing over and over, because there really is the most important thing about trading. Making sure you're in a good group, making sure you're in a good market, making sure the stock has good earnings and sales, and then that gives it duration. Yeah, Dole event. I do have a room, man. I do. I don't do written reports too much. I do a bunch of live streaming, which is kind of similar to what you guys see now, answering a bunch of questions while the market's moving and then sharing a watch list. And typical market commentary as the day's going on. So, but effectively, if the market's open, I'm at my screens. So, yeah, Jordan. Yeah, literally for 2 straight weeks, I had Tesla as a buy over 259, which is over that little downtrending line, and then over the earnings high. But I was traveling that Friday, but 425 was the first day to buy. The second day to buy was right here, literally the day that I bought, May 9th, as it was going through the 200 day. I have a 292.83 myself, and I have not trimmed and no plans to trim Tesla. Tesla is one of those positions that I want to hold a full size in until either one, we get wildly extended from moving averages, or 2, we fail the 200 simple moving average. Shop seems to have weak guidance. Yeah, but Shopify gapped up on, it goes up, included into the NASDAQ 100, but not a reason that I normally buy. I wanted to buy it over 100, but it just wouldn't get going. And then obviously turned around a few days later. But I thought over 100 was good, below 100, not so good. But we'll see if Shopify will just tighten up here. I really like Shopify as a business. I personally think they're Canada's best business. I think Shopify is Canada's single best business. You have 3 options to look at industry groups. You have FinViz, you have DeepView, you have Market Surge. I'm assuming that there's others, but those are the 3 that I know. Those are the 3 that I use. One of them's free, 2 of them are not. So, pick whichever one you'd like. The concept still remains the same, right? You don't want to trade the worst group in the market. You don't want to buy stocks because they've gone down the most. You want to buy stocks because they're the strongest. Yeah, Market Surge can be expensive. DeepView, not as much. DeepView's still working out a few bugs, but I personally like them. But they're all right. FinViz is free. Use FinViz, is in my opinion. What a day for FSLR yesterday, huh? Past few days. 4 days. Yes, but not for long. I also only had a small piece left, so I've been trimmed on SMCI for a while now. But yes, I still have SMCI. And if it reclaims the 200, which it looks like it'll be doing today, I won't be hanging out much longer. Well, I've been trimmed on this thing. I shorted this thing in February 24th. Literally been sitting here for the longest time. It's about time it kicks me out, honestly. What do I think about ANET? I know they have something to do with data centers. Yeah, I mean, this is good. ANET needed this. I mean, look at the run this thing went on. I mean, this thing went from $26 or, call it $30 all the way to 130. This was healthy. Lose 50%, shake a bunch of people out, get reaccumulated, build the right-hand side of the chart, which is now what it's got to do. In fact, I bought CLS that looked awfully similar, right? Big move up, got beaten up quite a bit, started building a series of higher lows, got above the 200, and then over this little flat pivot, I bought it on the 12th, so 2 days ago, and then big move out yesterday. Super, super nice. But ANET's current setup needs a little bit more time, right? You're just going to show up and buy it today. It needs to give you a little pivot to buy it through. A few more higher lows is my thinking. Thoughts on CYBR? I mean, to be honest with you, this kind of looks like the laggard in the space. It's in a good group, cybersecurity. But for me, Okta is acting better. Zscaler is acting better. Rubrik's acting better. RBRK. Rubrik's acting better. I own CrowdStrike, so I share a little bit of favoritism to this one, even though it's not acting the best. And then you've also got PanW, which was oddly down in a green market yesterday. Not something that I like seeing, right? A market was super powerful yesterday. I thought this thing would have, been green again. No, I didn't open Palantir. My mistake. But, I was watching it. I just didn't click the buy button. I just didn't. Yeah, my love. Yeah, it sounds amazing. Thank you. Pretty much every leader extended, so let winners run and focus on a few day trades. I don't know that I want to focus on a few day trades. I don't just want to do something that I don't enjoy doing, which is day trading. I just want to let my winners work, continue to eyeball new stocks that are setting up, and then, start to actually look for stocks that are acting relatively weak. Because if the market starts to pull in for a few days, 5 days, 10 days, oscillate, but come down a little bit, digest a little bit, I want to start to eyeball the weakest names and potentially short those. So yesterday I shorted Rigetti, and then obviously it closed incredibly weak. Now, it is gapping up the smallest little bit today, but if the market begins to pull in some, I want to be focused on weakness. Same way I focused on relative strength when the market's going down. And that's what puts me in a Netflix and a CrowdStrike and a Uber and a Palantir and Eyes on Hood. Same way I look at relative strength when the market is going down is the same way I look for relative weakness when the market's going up. I don't ever get too euphoric when the market's going up. I've already done my job. I'm in 7, 8 longs, right? And then when the market's going up, I'm already in them. I'm just letting winners work. But then I start to think about the potential other side of the trade, which is, is there going to be a name that's a good short or two? And then if so, what are they, right? It's names that are acting bad on earnings, right? So Rigetti might fit the bill. So what I do is I use progressive exposure. The same way I would use progressive exposure to get my portfolio into 7, 8 longs is the same way I start to use progressive exposure to get myself in a few shorts. Right? First, you try one. If that's working, you go ahead and get yourself another. If that's working, you go ahead and get yourself another. If the market really starts to pull in, you've already got a few shorts on. Maybe you start to get stopped out of a few longs. I don't ever know where the market's going, right? I just use my moving averages. But I do want to use progressive exposure on both sides of the market to get myself positioned. If the market starts to pull in, I've already got my eye on a stock that is potentially failing on earnings, which is a Rigetti. I don't know that that's going to remain true, right? But if the market begins to pull in, so, if the market begins to pull in some more, this Rigetti's already gapping down on earnings, tries to pop up and then starts to fail. And then if the market stays heavy, does this thing continue to fail, right? It's I don't actually know, right? Or is this just a series of higher lows? That could be the case too. It's again, I don't know. Right. We'll let the market tell me what it's trying to do here. But just the same way I try to get myself positioned on the long side, I try to think about the other side of the market as well. Like I said, I don't get too euphoric when things are going up. Like, oh my God, I missed the boat. Oh my God, everything's so bullish. Oh my God, I gotta get positioned. Right? It's like, just slow down. Right? Like you've missed the long side for the most part. Things have to now digest. You need new setups. And is there anything else to do? Well, yeah. What's acting weak in a really strong market, right? Those are potentially the ones that are going to get their asses kicked. So, yeah, Carvana's been a beast. But, it's above the pivot. But, this thing just came down and went right back up. Where's the setup? How do I limit risk after this thing has literally gone up 99% in a month? What? Where's the setup? So it needs to oscillate. It needs to build higher lows. It needs to pull back against descending moving averages. So it needs to do all sorts of shit before I would go, oh yeah, I'm just going to buy that, Have I talked about sell rules in recent streams? Do I take simple rules like quali? Yep. Mm-hmm. Correcto mundo. Yes, I have very simple sell rules. I like to trim some into strength, treat it like a business, 3 to 5 days. There are stocks where I say to myself, I'm not trimming. I'm just going to trail. And that is like a Tesla, right? When you buy it as it's going through the 200 and now all of a sudden I'm up $50 a share, I'm not trimming this winner, right? I'm going to let this winner work. It's also my biggest position. And it's the one that I think, can end up going back to all-time highs, make an even bigger move. And if that's the case, I want to have a huge chunk of my portfolio in there for that possibility. And then I'll live with the results from there. But, typically I like to trim into 3 to 5 days of strength and then just trail an ascending moving average. And then, just make sure that you're timing, your entries properly with a market that's pushing and in stocks in a good group. And if they got good earnings and sales, that's the cherry on top. Yeah, Prath, I believe the market should slow down a little bit after this rise. I don't know that it's going to, but if it doesn't, I own longs and my longs are going to do just well. But if the market does cool down a little bit after this rise, right, I'm going to have some names that I'm going to be shorting, right? So, I'll be trimmed on my longs, with the exception of Tesla, but I'll be trimmed on some longs. Really, I wish I were still holding full in Uber, Hood, and Palantir too, but that's another conversation for another day. But I'll be trimmed on the longs, so I'll be completely comfortable to just kind of let them oscillate, ebb and flow, build the right hand side of their chart, which could take a few weeks. But if the market were to begin to come down in any kind of meaningful way, I do have some shorts on, in a 1 or 2 or 3 names. So we'll see. Do you typically are you typically do shorts that break down through moving averages, or do you also do PS? I'm assuming that's price structure. I'm not sure. But yeah, I'll short sometimes, double top short sales. If I thought that that's what was working, I'll short through key moving averages. Like I did GRRR, which I still have as a short. Sometimes I'll short earnings gap downs. I'll short high volume closes and the breakdown from there. Zim and QUBT thoughts. Zim needs more time, needs to get above the 200. Guys, don't argue with the 200. Let it get above the 200 just like it did here, right? And then let it set something up for you, like some kind of a flag, something, some kind of a base, something, right? It's like when it just lives below the 200, it's no good. What do I think about QUBT? I don't really like the quantum names. This is terrible. You think good companies go from $28 all the way back to $5? It's a former beverage company, and they probably should have stuck to that business. QUBT's trash. I make more money than they do taking a simple scalp in 10 minutes. I like Root. Root was on my watch list last night in the Discord. Looks good. It's it was actually the only stock that I had on the long side for today. Everything else is wildly extended. Sam, how are you, man? Nice to see you. Yeah, parabolic shorts are also things that I take. Thoughts on TEM? I've been asked about this one quite a bit. It's acting well. Yeah, nothing wrong with it. I like the fact that it tried to break down on earnings and then came right back, right? And then the next morning tried to break down again and came right back, right? That's a sign that somebody's involved in this thing and not letting it go down. So, and then sure enough, move up, move sideways, right? Move up, move sideways for a few days. I was hoping for a little bit longer of a flag, but it looks good. I still think it's within this massive base, but looks good to me. Yeah, Hood's definitely going to all-time highs, in my opinion. I don't see what's really stopping this thing. $67. I mean, that kind of seems like a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. The problem is, though, what does it do when it gets there? Does it just get there and just keep going? Or does it get there, pause, and then slow down and build the right-hand side of the chart? I mean, because we're starting to get quite extended here, guys. Right? I mean, this thing moves about 7% per day. And, we're about to be up. When you get to all-time highs, you'll be 7 times its average daily range from the 50. So it's up there. Yeah, exactly. Does it just double top short sale? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, bad earnings. How else do I find short ideas? Weak industry groups, stocks that are red on the day when the market's green. AMD still rocking, huh? 118. Oh my goodness. Is there news on this thing or what? AMD announces new $6 billion share repurchase authorization. Why didn't they give that out on their earnings, dude? What the hell's wrong with these guys? Fox is a massive move. Just needs to go sideways here. I don't have a setup that I understand here, but it looks like, it's trying to move on earnings, which is good. But I need volatility to contract. I don't buy things, as they're moving from like I don't buy after dailies like this, right? How do I limit risk? Not to mention this thing's kind of thin for my portfolio. It trades $55 million a day. It's a little thin. But yeah, SMCI struck a deal with DataVolt. Yeah, good for them. Maybe they are a real company after all. Maybe, just maybe. This GEV was nice through this flat pivot, man. Could have been one that we got as well. A lot of missed setups recently. Yeah, I looked at CELH. Looks fine. I mean, nice to see it reestablishing itself above the 200, right? Really nice grind up, pulled back, held the 200, popped right back up. It's just gotta. I don't know. I don't love the setup, but it's coming back. My thoughts on NVIDIA are I wish it never gapped over my pivot. I had this thing as a potential higher low setup at $99.50, and I skipped on it, right? So here was the higher low, got nice and tight down here, and I wanted to buy it as it was going through $99.50. And it gapped up, and I was just like, I'll just leave it alone. And then, it had this nice little flat pivot as well, 115. Could have been bought on 5.7. And again, I just left it alone. But I like that it's establishing itself over the 200. When semiconductors are moving and moving well, that's really good for the stock market. AVGO kind of looks like your leader for semiconductors, even though people still think it's NVIDIA. Price action wise, it's AVGO by a mile. A-Lab is starting to get back above the 200. Really nice to see. TSM, same deal. CRDO, same deal. AMD is trying to work its way there. It's up $7 overnight. Jesus. Good Lord, up almost 6% overnight. So yeah, I mean, semis are trying to get their act together. They're looking a whole lot better. A whole lot better. No, Edward. No United Health. Although I understand I understand why you'd want to. Right? Big capitulation volume came in yesterday. It could be like just a day trade, but I don't, it's not my style. It's not my style. My thoughts on Oscar or DJT. Oscar needs a little bit more time. Really nice move on earnings. This high volume close looks like an interesting spot. This was like the highest volume in a very long time. So, basically over 1702 looks pretty interesting. And we're over it right now. Looks good. Doesn't look bad. Maybe a little bit longer, a better looking daily, but looks good. It's back above the 200. Nice move up. Right? I thought this little bull flag in here was sweet. And then obviously it kept going. In here was pretty decent too, but I just didn't see a clean setup. But looks fine. Big digestion over time. And I saw that it kind of failed on earnings and came right back. Oh yeah. I mean, you want to buy momentum, right? And this has already been going up. I mean, this thing is up straight off the bottom, almost 50% in a month, a little bit over a month. And, just needs to ebb and flow a little bit more. Right now it's hanging out just underneath the 200-day. Doesn't look perfect. Yeah, AVGO is looking really good. A 5-minute opening range break is how you could buy these gap ups, or you can just shrink your time frame a little bit more. I know some people use 1-minute opening range breaks. Yeah, 1-minute opening range breaks. Thoughts on Monster? I thought Monster was looking good. This was on the watch list a while ago, but it's just grinding higher. It's not a very explosive chart, so it's like you're just sitting there and watching it grind higher. So, there's a reason I think that Celsius has been acting as well as it has. I think it's because of Monster, Keurig, Dr. Pepper, and a few others. CDNS, Cadence. Yeah, it looks good too, but, a couple things. It's going to have to clear these highs effectively. And, this thing just right off the bottom, right into that level. Again, a lot of these charts have the same problem. They need to build the right-hand side of their chart, right? They need to build out the right-hand side of their chart. What do I think about Oklo? I like GEV. I like CEG. I like VST. Oklo, to me, although they're running and they look fine, they held their 200 and it can definitely go higher. I don't like Oklo as a business because they don't even have a permit to build. I said this about Oklo when this thing was like $50. They don't have a permit to build a small modular reactor. So as far as I'm concerned, they're a fantasy, right? Until you get a permit. I mean, and again, they don't make any money. Exactly. Yeah. Oklo's a sympathy play to GEV and VST and CEG and PWR and NRG and all these other names that are running that are energy related. The reality is that Oklo doesn't even have a permit to build a small modular reactor. So how the hell are they going to sell energy? I'd love to know. Hopes and dreams, that's what they're going to be selling. You know, it's like at first it was running up because Sam Altman was on the board. Then, you know, it's like, I mean, again, they make no money. So, like, how would you confidently hold this thing, James, if you're like, oh, I like Oklo, I like what they do? Well, then I would ask, what the hell do they do? You know, and you'd be like, oh, well, they're going to be building modular reactors in the future. And I'd be like, cool, build a modular reactor then. Like, build one. Show the world you can build one, you know? But the fact is that they really can't because they don't even have a permit to build one. So again, the thing that I understand is that you can't get stubborn in front of that. You can't just say that out loud and then think you're going to go and short that. And then everybody shorts it and they just squeeze them out over time, you know, but they don't have a permit to build a modular reactor. So they're just fantasy. I mean, you know, they're just fantasy. They might as well start their OnlyFans page. They'd probably make a little bit more money that way. They don't make a dime. They could tell you all they want about the future. Have you ever heard the phrase, show me the money? Show me the money. Problem is, they don't make no fucking money. Yeah, it's fantasy. It's not even a story stock. It's a fantasy stock is what it is. KLAC, ASML. NPWR. Yeah, semis are starting to act well all over the board. All of them are reclaiming their 200. ASML, KLAC, LRCX probably. Yeah, LRCX. They're all doing the exact same thing. All of these things are reclaiming their 200. Hard to be bearish when semis are this bullish. Yeah, EQT's a real business, guys. EQT's a nat gas provider. And there's a bunch of that already in the world. Yeah, EQT. And guess what? EQT's at new highs. New highs. I bought EQT at $45 out of this little bull flag. This little gap up. I bought it on literally right here, 1230. And then I got stopped out under the 50 on this day here. Or was it down here? So I held through this gap down. And then because I had already trimmed some into strength, held through this gap down. Thought we were all good to go up here. And then, you know, finally rolled over and I let it go. And then, you know. This is what these damn commodity names do. But yeah, EQT looks right. I had EQT on watch down here too. In fact, I took a loss here. I bought it right on this day, whatever day this was, 10:30. And then I took a loss the very next day. And then it ended up going. So that's trading for you right there in a nutshell. Yeah, A-Lab's another semi. It's not just A-Lab. They're all on the move. All of them. All the semis. Right? A-Lab, all of them. I don't even need to go through the list. KLAC, ASML, MPWR, AMD, NVIDIA, they're all moving. EXE, another one. Yeah. This one was at highs for a while, like before a bunch of these. Yeah, going back to March. Again, kind of nasty move down, but came right back. Oop. I mean, EXE, you know, WNB, LB. Yeah, look at LB. Tell me that's not a friggin' weekly base. Oh my goodness. Even I might have to get involved in this thing. This thing looks gorgeous. Just so thin. So thin. Yeah, CRS looks really good too. But again, needed a little bit more sideways. But yeah, looks damn good. They're just not in the best group, but yeah. I mean, look at this chart. CRS looks awesome. Thanks, my love. My thoughts on RR. Are there better robotics companies out there? I mean, RR looks fine. I see it's gapping up tonight or today. You know, speculative. You know what they don't have? Any earnings and sales. Archer I liked. Archer was a bit better. This one had a nice little pivot yesterday. Massive volume. Huge. Yeah, Archer looks good. RR should do OnlyFans too. Yeah. They don't even report anything. I mean, what's there to report? That's the thing. It's not that I hate these companies. It's just that you got to make some money. That making a little bit of money is what makes me confident to be able to hold for a while. Oh, looks like my camera went blurry. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. Didn't work. Yeah, it's like making some money is what allows me to be like, okay, I'm going to be patient with this thing. Why? Well, because they make a ton of money, and then they can do some buybacks, and they can buy out another company, and it's like they'll pay you a dividend, and they're in an uptrend, and they're institutional quality. An institution looks at that and says, wow, they've got accelerating revenues. They've got accelerating growth. Those things are much more important. It's like it's hard. It's easier to judge when they're making money. When they're making some money, you could say those things to yourself. No sales either. No sales either. But that news as a partnership with Palantir, I thought was pretty good. I do agree. Yeah, EH is the Chinese eVTOL. Yeah, EHang. But again, from a price perspective, Archer looks better. I actually think that in time, Archer will end up pivoting to, they'll be making drones for the military. I don't think that they're going to succeed in making drones that like fly you from one city to the next. I don't think so. Have you guys ever flown a little DJI drone before? And how loud those things are, and when they're even way up in the sky, how loud they are. My neighbors don't like me when I pull mine out for funsies, right? Just imagine how loud Joby or Archer's eVTOL would be like in a major city like Chicago. Can you imagine that? You thought your neighbors hated you before? Could you imagine this like in a local town, a big town? Like if you're from Illinois, you'd be like, yeah, eVTOL trips from, from wherever, Naperville to Chicago, 5 minutes. You feel like, Use one for fishing? It's amazing. AMD. What a beast. Great question, James. Yes. If I'm up 20% in a day, do I trim instead of holding for 3 to 5 days? For instance, I got into Archer and trimmed yesterday up 18%. Beautiful. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being up 18% in the day and then taking 40% off or half off. Right? There's nothing wrong with that at all. Yeah, you would that's like totally prudent to do. You would want to peel some in that scenario. You're up 18% in a day. Treat it like a business. It could go higher, but it's good to pay yourself, right? You got to treat it like a business. That would be treating it like a business. AMD still below the 200 though? Yeah, AMD is below the 200. And I thought that the only real time that AMD was even viable was, maybe as a higher I didn't really see anything perfect on this thing, to be totally honest with you. There's no real setup here, right? Maybe when it got above its 50-day and held, but not a setup for me. There were other better, setups in the semi space. I actually had Soxel. I just sold it like a total dipshit. Right. I had this thing on this day right here. What is this? 5.8, and it closed weak. And I'm like, I'll reevaluate tomorrow. Right. And then it didn't do anything the very next day. So I didn't rebuy it. And then the next day it just gapped up and took off, and I'm left in the dust. I should have just respected my low of day stop, and I would be in this thing from 1370s. But I didn't. So sucks to suck. Got to learn to respect your sell rules. Anyway, guys, thank you guys all for being here. You guys are all the best. I will see you guys in 23 hours, same time tomorrow. And I just got to gear up for stream here in a moment. And thank you guys as always. Thank you guys for coming with questions. You guys are awesome. Any more questions? I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, an hour before the open. Cheers.